terror of not knowing what this world is about. Watching a good friend scream. Let me out.
Yeah. For tomorrow.
I'm glad you know what I was talking about. Level 3, we're not doing David Bowie / Freddie Mercury. Though I wish we were.
Oh, I love that Slash.
It is. That's a Slash fic that would actually make sense. It would actually be canon, I guess.
It's RL, yes.
Yeah. Kirsty, always good to see you.
Oh, it's always good to see you.
Episode 201.
I know. 120. It's got all 3 of the first numbers in it. How cool.
Well, does 0 come at the start or at the end? No?
0? No, never mind. It's just me being weird.
Anyway, what we do have, though, is a jam-packed show. We have huge coverage, huge games.
Oh, yeah.
One thing we have, 10 minutes of Fable. And
that's
actually probably more than Donald spent playing it. Because, but no, it's, no, we're not good game. It's a good review. He goes through it. He cuts it to pieces. He's very efficient and spends his time being very meticulous. It's,
it's beautiful.
It is.
It's a work of art.
Speaking of... No, I got nothing.
No.
Speaking of like length of time...
Oh...
Play TV. Quick wrap up.
Okay. Well, I've got a PlayStation 3, obviously, and I got to the Play TV, it had an update, and it listed all what it had to update, 1 or 2 things, but most of them were not available in Australia. Sat there for 20 minutes waiting for this to download when half the features aren't even available in Australia. It's kind of like, come on, PlayStation Australia, pick up your act.
You were definitely on a PlayStation.
Yeah, well, that's... I know, but I was just like, what's the point of me downloading all this stuff if it's not available in Australia? Why don't they actually just bloody... change it for Australia? It's not hard, people. Really.
It is. We're this big to market.
Yeah, I know, but it was just irritating. I had to sit there for like forever because, of course, Australia's internet's even slower.
Wow.
So, anyway.
So welcome to the beautiful world of Sony ownership.
I know. I've experienced it before, but I was really shocked because it stopped me from watching TV. I was like,
God forbid you not watch TV.
I know, that TV. Well, speaking of TV.
What else we have to do when you're owning? Anyway, that's terrible. You can't say things like that on television, but you can show this. So one of the surprise games of the year, for my money, has been Vanquish. It came out of nowhere. The demo dropped on Xbox Live. The demo is awesome. And then I'm pumped. I'm waiting for Vanquish, and out it comes. And it's pretty good. It really is. Like, it's not... I don't think it's as good as it probably could have been. It's a little bit short for my money. But that said, there is a lot of replay value in going back through it, doing the challenges, getting the Chivos. But that said, you can actually do the Chivos in one run, which for all the Chivo whores out there, I guess, is positive. I don't know. But it's a really good game. You play the role of Sam Gideon. He's from DARPA. So instantly, it's a Japanese shooter, of course. So he's from DARPA because that seems to be the only American defense installation they use that's real. So you're from DARPA and you've got this ARS suit. It's called an ARS suit, which I always thought was pretty funny. Quick, go, wait for your ARS reactor to slow down. And he's there helping them because there's an orbital ring. And they've launched an attack on the actual country, on the world, on the country of America. So they're up there to try and stop any more of these attacks from happening. So you're up there. You've got, I think his name is Burns. He's a big guy with the massive chain gun and all the scars. You've got like the little pretty chick with the super high IQ. So it's kind of very cliched in that sense. And the voices, they all sound like constipated Solid Snakes. Get over here. It's a little bit odd, I guess. That said, the action is fantastic. The shooting is tight. The actual sliding mechanic, which is the one thing is your arse reactor shoots you along on a boost for as long as you can. I love saying arse reactor. And so the actual gameplay mechanics are pretty sound. And the one thing it manages is a sense of scale. You're fighting little enemies, you're fighting big enemies, and you're fighting monstrous enemies. And they all feel that way. It's one thing that I think Earth Defense Force managed to do really well was capture that sense of scale. And while this game is probably a little bit better mechanically and graphic-wise than EDF, it's the one thing that instantly invoked when I saw that. But you know what? Let's get into some scores. The graphics. This game looks freaking amazing. It's probably not the best thing you'll ever see. It's certainly not Killzone 2, which I still think is one of the best console games, but it looks freaking awesome. In game, some of the effects are a little bit crap, and the way that they fall are a little bit crap. Other than that, though, cutscenes are great. Running around looks awesome. The actual environments themselves are really nice. Like there's a whole. I love the look they've gone with, both stylistically and graphically. So the graphics on this one, geez, it's got to be an 8.5 or 9. I'm going to go to 9 because we don't do 8.5 here anymore. That's cheap. So 9 it is. The sound, the voice acting, while sounding crap, is really colloquial. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, that kind of I'm a big tough man kind of thing, and it works, as strange as that sounds. Everyone does sound like, as I said, all men sound like constipated Solid Snake, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, if you're going to copy from the best bad voice, copy from the best bad voice. I mean, what is it? Good artists borrow and great artists steal. So other than that, the guns sound great. Robots changing into big robots sound great. The sound actually, it works in the sense of an old shooter. You know by the noise that precedes the weapon what's coming. So you know what evasive maneuvers take. When you hear the when like a laser's building up, you know to get out of dodge because bad things are going to happen. So all the sound effects work in both a gameplay sense and in a stylistic sense. Again, sounds great. Probably not as good as the visuals as far as being on par. So the sound of this one, 8 out of 10. Now the gameplay. This is where a lot of people are going to... It's not that long a game, only taking 5 or 6 hours. That's not a bad thing nowadays because it's an action-packed balls-to-the-wall ride. There's enough variation in the levels and enough different ways to tackle each fight to get you through. The only thing is, the only weapon that's really worthwhile keeping at all times is the assault rifle. Now, I guess that's what they're going for because it seems to be the weapon that looks both in a modular sense and in a stylistic sense the same as the suit. So I think they wanted you to do that. But between the assault rifle, you got the heavy machine gun, you got the laser rifle, you've got this EMP gun, LFL gun, and it shoots this big wave of time distortion, and that's great. There's heaps of the guns in there. While there aren't that many, are varied enough to be helpful. But you will go back to the assault rifle all the time. The assault rifle is the best gun in the game. That said, it mixes it up enough. The enemies are varied enough, and later on you get to the point where even the different types of the same enemy, they're difficult. One has the big Romanovs. One of them's great for smashing the crap out of you in one spot. The other ones are great for shooting you at a distance with machine gun or whatever the case may be, or whatever weapons they have attached on them at the time. So the gameplay itself holds up. Whether it holds up to multiple plays or an extended playthrough, I'm not sure, but most people will go back through this on hard. There's a lot of Chivos to be had. Not to mention the fact that it's just a good, solid, fun game. Co-op in this would have been fantastic. And the one thing I noticed, being Japanese, lots of people smoke because it's Japan. And I'm not saying that to profile anybody, but they like the cigarettes in Japan, the tabako. So if you're up against the wall and you use your boost button, he actually gets the smoke out, lights it up. He doesn't actually do the Asian squat, but he sits there and he smokes and he throws it, and their eyes actually follow it. So they will shoot that, and you can use it as a distraction. So so you can do that, and it looks great. So and it actually works in the gameplay sense. So the gameplay, as I say, probably not a strong suit. It's still a lot of good damn fun. So I'll probably give it about a 7 out of 10. So all up, 9, 8, 7. It's going to make it an 8. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mathematical equation, but this game is solid fun. It's probably not a rush out and buy. It's probably not a must own, but it's a damn solid entry into this kind of thing. And it's by the guys who made, I think, Devil May Cry and a few others. So it's got a fantastic pedigree. So it's just definitely worth a look. Certainly interesting. I'd love to see what they do with the series. Hopefully they don't screw it up from here.
And so our story begins.
The Fable series has quite the reputation going on behind it, not necessarily because of any way it's actually changed the way we think of gaming, but because of one Peter Molyneux and how he thinks the Fable series should change the way we think of gaming. Anyway, the ambitions are high once again as Fable 3, the latest joint from Lionhead Studios, is released. It is set 50 years after the events of Fable 2. It has inexplicably become the Industrial Age. You play as the son or the daughter of the hero from Fable 2. Your brother Logan has become the king of Albion, and he rules over the entire kingdom with a tyrannical fist. People are unhappy all over the place, poverty reigns, and so on and so forth. Events come to a head, and you eventually have to start to form a revolution to get the support of the people, to take down your douche king brother, etc. Yada yada yada, happy days and all that. So yeah, there's quite a lot of ambition going behind this game as usual, but does Fable 3 actually meet them for once? Now first off, the graphics, and they're kind of a mixed bag. Technically speaking, they're alright, I suppose. There's enough polygons thrown at your eye so it doesn't look completely ugly, and there are a few good designs in terms of the creatures and beasts that you'll be fighting. But there are still some issues. For instance, the game does manage to maintain a 20 to 30 frames a second. However, there are these times when, say, you're turning around, where the game just suddenly starts moving in real slow motion, as if it was desperately trying to quickly load the thing that was behind you. And then there are during the mini games when it's just one static shot and UI on top of it. It manages to slow it down even during these sequences. I mean, really, how do you do that wrong? But even if all the technical foibles were improved and it ran at a slick 30 or hell even 60 frames a second, it still wouldn't hide the fact that the game is kind of artistically boring. The game is set in the industrial age, so you had some potential for some really interesting cities set in this era. However, there are only like 1 or 2 cities that actually take advantage of the industrial age-ness of it all. Most of this locales in this game are your standard fantasy tropes, you know, your icy mountaintops, your villages, your medieval castles. It's all kind of cliched. It doesn't really bode well for your game when the most imaginative aspect of it all are the loading screens. Whilst I'm here, I might as well talk about the menus, or the lack of menus, because when you press the start button, you don't get your standard menu, you're taken into this sanctuary, this room. From then, you can explore your standard menu options. Say if you want to change your costume, you have to walk over to your wardrobe if you want to get changed. If you want to look at your weapons, you need to go over to your armory. It's all sort of novel, and it's kind of good actually seeing everything visually represented, but it just adds to the gameplay time artificially. Let me put it this way. If I wanted to go see the world map, instead of just doing something logical like pressing the back button in this game to see it, I have to press start, walk forward, press A, and then finally I can see the world map. Over the game's, say, 15 to 20 hour duration, if you're playing this rather quickly, it all adds up. So graphics, they weren't the best. They're about a 6 out of 10. And now the audio, and that fares better than the graphics. The voice acting in this game is very good, but what do you expect when you hire all the best British talent that isn't currently working on all the Harry Potter movies? So you have big names like Stephen Fry, John Cleese, Simon Pegg, all delivering solid performances. And the writing is similarly very British. If you like dry one-liners and fart jokes right next to each other, then you'll get a kick out of Fable 3's writing. So yeah, that's all good, but there's this weird issue that popped up during the cutscenes, during the early cutscenes in particular, where conversations would go at an unnaturally fast clip, as if they'd artificially removed all the natural pauses in dialogue after they recorded it just to save, I don't know, mere kilobytes or something. It ends up just being completely artificial and distracting from what is ultimately well-delivered lines. And as for the music, well, it ranges from... There are a few good themes in this game, but for the most part, they range from forgettable to downright crap. Just this one battle theme, for instance, it sounds like it was produced on a cheapo, second-hand $2 synth. But that doesn't detract from the quality of voice work, so I have to give the audio a 7 out of 10. And now for the gameplay, and where do I start? I suppose I'll go with the combat. The one button combat that was introduced in Fable 2 is back in Fable 3, so you have one button for magic melee and ranged combat. Thing is though, it's an incredibly simplistic system. It basically boils down to mashing the controller with the palm of your hand to win. There's no finesse, no strategy whatsoever, and it just becomes tedious after a while. Speaking of which, some of the quest design in this game is utterly dull. You have a lot of fetch quests, a lot of fight through arenas with enemies using the aforementioned dull combat system, and a lot of follow the incredibly slow walking NPC towards a scene where you'll just get exposition thrown at you. To the game's credit, there are a couple of well-designed quests in this game that were engaging to play, but these were unfortunately few and far between. There are other things that you can do. You can buy a property, you can do mini games, you can make relationships with the various NPCs, but ultimately these are just grindy rather than fun. And then there's the whole story that was overpinning the whole thing. Like I said in the introduction, the whole conceit of this game is that you're forming a revolution to try and fight the power, etc. and all that. The thing is though, I never actually got this feeling throughout the entire game. It just felt like I was doing a line of quest. Not once during this game did I ever feel like I was getting the support of the people, capital P, more like just getting the support of, some people, lowercase p. Probably one of the few things about the game that I was impressed with was the metagame. The game is constantly collecting statistics about everything you do and puts it in leaderboard form against your other Xbox Live friends. So when you're constantly reminded during the loading screens and hell, just during basic gameplay that you're about to beat, say, one of your friends in terms of, say, amount of range kills, you will try and beat them, goddammit. And when you see that one of your friends has handheld an NPC X distance, you will spend the next 10-15 minutes hand-holding an NPC longer than your bastard friend. It is one of the few hooks in a game that it's unfortunately deficient of any form of grip or hook or whatever. So gameplay, it's 5 out of 10.
So yes, it's not going to average out, but the highest I can give Fable 3 is a 5 out of 10. Sure, the presentations were alright, but the absolute tedium in the gameplay just weighed down the whole experience. Basically, the game is loaded once again with ambitions, and sort of once again, none of them have been met. And even without these ambitions, the gameplay system in here are just not entertaining. There was no real hook for me to spend my 25 hours in this game. Just to disclaim, I paid no attention to the pre-marketing hype, so I didn't know what Peter Molyneux had hyped up about this game. But even without those, you'd still expect some sort of baseline quality for what is ostensibly a tentpole title. You'd expect something like quality, but not this.
Every year on Halloween, grabbing candy left and right, ghosts and witches can be seen trick-or-treating through the night. This year it's a different deal. Someone new has come to town. Now the monsters are all real, and we have to take them down. There's a witch who thinks she might steal our candy for the dawn. We've got costumes built to fight. Now, the battle's really on. From the imagination of Double Fine Productions, take an amazing adventure on Halloween night, following the quest of a brother and sister torn apart. Explore, collect, and develop skills and abilities to help you in battle. Transform from humble trick-or-treaters into heroic warriors in this instant classic for kids and grown-ups alike. Costume Quest, coming this fall to Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network.
So talking about some sound, the background music follows the Halloween theme, while still being cheery enough to suit the arcade nature of the game. There's no voice acting, but it's a downloadable title, what can you expect? There's nothing wrong, there's nothing particularly outstanding. I'll give the sound a 7 out of 10. Looking at some visuals, it's very cartoony and colourful, again suiting the theme, though seeing the regular costumes transform into a big cool battle form, a robot costume clearly made out of cardboard turning into this giant mecha, it really suits the game well. I'll give those an 8 out of 10. Costume Quest is the latest downloadable game by Double Fine, of course Tim Schafer's company, who was responsible for Grim Fandango back in the day and Brutal Legend more recently. It takes place on Halloween night, and you play as a young boy who has to rescue his sister from monsters who have been stealing all the candy from the local houses and shops. Being Halloween, all the local kids are costumed up, and throughout the game you collect a series of different costumes that allow you to interact with the environment. As a robot you can boost, as if you have some sort of arse reactor. As a knight you can shield yourself and walk past obstacles. These costumes also determine what sort of creature you'll become during battle sequences and what kind of attacks or special abilities you'll have. As you can expect with a Tim Schafer title, the universe is really well realised, and the light-hearted humour present in the story and conversations with the non-player characters is really one of the major selling points of the game. There are 3 different locations you play through, and you progress through these by trick-or-treating all of the houses and shops. These are the neighbourhoods you live in, the mall, and a fairground, and they all offer different and interesting challenges based on the costumes that you can unlock in that area. The game's currency is appropriately candy, and you use this to purchase battle cards that you equip to your members of your party to increase their attacks or special skills or stats in other ways. But you collect so much candy throughout regularly progressing through the game that all the best items from the store are immediately available to you. There's also no way to lose the game if you lose a battle, you simply get placed in the same position you were before you started that battle and can retry that battle now or walk away and come back later. So it takes about 6 to 9 hours to complete the game, which, depending on how much time you spend exploring, which for a downloadable game seems relatively fair. Though given the strong story, I'd strongly recommend that you play... Sorry. Hang on. So the game takes about 6 to 9 hours to complete, depending on how much time you spend exploring, which for a downloadable title seems relatively fair. Though, given the strong story, I'd highly recommend that you try to play through the game in as few sittings as possible. And given the autosave function is quite spaced, especially during trick-or-treating sections, and I lost quite a lot of candy quitting after what I thought was an hour or so of saved play. Overall, I'd give the gameplay an 8 out of 10. So if you're looking for a fun, engrossing, albeit simple turn-based RPG, Costume Quest is definitely worth looking at. If you're not quite sure still, pick up the demo. It's a very good example of the full game. I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
Wow, there we go. That was
huge.
it was huge. But let's not discuss what we got up to in the break. But no, it's been interesting because speaking of huge news, Bizarre Creations, the makers of like Club and Blur.
Wait, is that game with all the explosions?
No,
Crashing?
a split second. But it's funny you made that that issue because a lot of people did, and this is the problem. They released them at the same time.
Yeah.
Activision are saying we're closing them down because they didn't sell enough. The expectations of a racer have shifted in the gaming market. That's fucking code for we suck, you know. And the game wasn't bad. And I also made 007 Bloodstone, which you know it's a good game. I don't know, but
And it was Gotham Racing as well.
yeah, Project Gotham Racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what they could have done. But
It's kind of sad. It's
Yeah.
another company gone. We've got a really long list now. It just keeps getting longer.
well, they have said that they are willing to sell it, so it's just a matter of someone will buy them. But there's plenty of potential there. They're good developers. I've always pumped out consistent. The Club was so underrated.
Yeah, and all those big wig film people say that there's a lot of money to be made.
There
in
is.
games.
There's
Yeah,
lots of money
huge.
if
It's
you
like a
believe the
gravy
Australian
train. Yeah.
filmmakers.
Yeah.
They
They know their stuff. They're
Oh,
not lying. They never lie.
do. I remember the last Australian movie I enjoyed. I wasn't alive. But that said, we've also got one more thing, which is Foxtel on Xbox.
Yes.
Which is
Not good. Confusing.
It's not confusing. It's just annoying. Okay, so you can't use Microsoft points to buy it, which I can half understand, but it's still a bit crap. You have to log into Foxtel to log into your account, like to make an account to then log it into your Xbox to watch Foxtel. And the basic package is real basic, you know.
Yeah, but it all kind of seems a bit too much, considering that Fox is basically begging and on their knees for you to sign up, judging by all the stupid,
Because they have
like
no
all
one
these
to,
ads that they've got
It's
running
always
on
the
the
first
TV.
thing that gets cut off is people say, "Oh, we're running out of money." It's time
Yeah,
to cut
exactly.
it.
So it's kind of like, well, why you should be appealing to all these Xbox players who want to watch Foxtel, watch all these shows on Foxtel that we don't otherwise get on like pleb TV. It's kind of like, it just seems a bit odd.
No, it
you know.
does. Well, look, and I hope it gets better. I hope they fix it because I don't want to have to go through all that. But
No.
not much to say. That's
Oh, well, now don't forget competitions.
Don't forget competitions. Check them out. We got find us best unofficial level 3. You'll win something. We're not telling you what it is. You'll get it.
Pez competition.
Pez competition. We should have announced the winners by now. If not, email me, whatever. And I guess that's it.
Yeah,
Give it a
that's
go.
about it. I know.
Bye.
Big show.
We've gone over time. Really
Yeah,
big show.
bye.
Bye.